Good morning, Mr. Vikramasinghe. We welcome you on behalf of the Global Tamil Vision Network GTV here in Europe. Let me brief and narrate about our television. It broadcasts all over Europe as well as Australia and New Zealand. As far as our channel and the viewers of the diaspora community is concerned, you played a significant role in Tamil politics by getting into ceasefire agreement, getting into peace negotiations. You played many important roles. Now we receive you here with pleasure. And what the message you have brought to the Tamil people living all over the world?
I must thank the GTV for giving me this opportunity. I've heard of GTV earlier, and it certainly gives me the occasion to give a message to the Tamil people specifically and the Sri Lankans in general. My message is that we are facing a presidential election where President Mahinda Rajapaksa, who has done away with the democratic liberties of this country, who has brought in corruption, who has brought down all standards, and who has brought in family rule with 390 members of his family in different positions in government, who has suppressed media freedom, who has forgotten the minorities, who are keeping 300,000 innocent victims of the fighting as in camps in the Vanni, who has violated human rights. Now this Mahinda Rajapaksa must be got rid of from the politics if Sri Lanka is to be a democracy. Mahinda Rajapaksa thought that this presidential election will be an opportunity for him to get a mandate to go ahead with the family rule, that it will be a cakewalk. But it turned out to be otherwise. Most political parties and civil society in Sri Lanka were concerned of this, and we were wondering how we could prevent such a situation from arising, how we could all work together for this limited agenda of re-establishing democracy. There are many parties ranging from the UNP to the Tamil parties to the SLMC to the JVP, many civil organizations. And we thought here is an opportunity. We'll turn this into a referendum as to whether Rajapaksa rule should be continued or there must be democracy in Sri Lanka where power is vested in the people again and not in the Rajapaksa family. If that was so, then we had to have a candidate common to everyone, a candidate who had the ability to draw votes from all sides, and we would all work together. This is why we decided to put forward to back his candidature as a common candidate to the people to re-establish democracy, very specifically to abolish the executive presidency, and that we could proceed with once the UNP decided to support the abolition of the executive presidency, and then to have parliamentary elections immediately, and in that parliamentary elections allow a government to be elected that will then go ahead re-establish democracy and bring in a constitution which will be acceptable to the Sinhalese, the Tamils, the Muslims and the Burghers. So here is opportunity. It is not merely a question of electing a president. It's a question of deciding between democracy and unity on one hand, family rule and division on the other. So this is why we've asked everyone to support the candidature of Sarath Fonseka, not for the sake of Sarath Fonseka, but for the sake of Sri Lanka, for the sake of all the Sri Lankans who live there, whether they be Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims, Burghers, or any of the other smaller communities. Thank you.
Okay. Now, your main ambition and main goal is wiping out this executive presidency. But this executive presidency rule was introduced by your United National Party, by late Mr. J.R. Jayawardena. So what way you look that executive presidency should be abolished?
Well, what you want to wipe out is the Rajapaksa dictatorial rule. It also means abolishing the executive presidency. I was one of those who were involved in the creation of the executive presidency. We felt there should be stability in the country for great development to take place after all that we had suffered under Mrs. Bandaranaike. And it did help. We would not have had Mahavali without the executive presidency, the free trade zone, the opening up of the economy, the grand housing schemes, the development education. That gave the stability to go ahead. And there are many schemes we did. But the executive presidency runs also on conventions. President Jayawardena insisted that we should not have too many provisions dealing with the executive presidency. We might put it into a straitjacket and let the conventions of parliament be applied to it with suitable amendment. It was all right as long as people like President Jayawardena, President Premadasa, who have been brought up in parliamentary traditions, who respected it. But here, you find a president who is abusing the powers without any restraint and weakening parliament, doing away with the cabinet, this is the only name, and establishing a small group of people, his members of his family, to run the country. Then we thought it's not a question of Rajapaksa, but let's do away with this system because it can be abused by others also. Now Rajapaksa set the example. So just as much as we joined in to create it, now we have joined in to abolish it. And that's the only way to ensure that even after Rajapaksa is defeated, that there will be democracy in the country because the head of government will be in parliament and will be answerable to parliament.
Okay. When we